In 1929, a German theologian was working in the archives of the Topkapi Palace in Istanbul. He was sifting through piles of disregarded documents. Trash, essentially. Things the modern government didn't think were important. Among the dust and the debris, he found a fragment of a gazelle skin parchment. It was rolled up, brittle, and faded. He unrolled it. At first glance, it looked like a standard Portolan chart, a navigation map used by sailors in the Middle Ages. It was dated to the Islamic month of Muharram in the year 919. That is 1513 AD in the Western calendar. It was drawn by a man named Piri Reis, a famous admiral of the Ottoman Turkish fleet. The map was beautiful. It showed the western coast of Africa. It showed the eastern coast of South America. It showed the Atlantic Ocean with surprising accuracy for the time. But as scholars looked closer, they noticed something at the bottom of the map. The landmass continues down past Brazil. It curves south, and then it turns east. It shows a massive, sprawling coastline where there should only be open ocean. According to our history books, nothing exists there. According to modern geography, there is only the icy, frozen waste of Antarctica. But this map was drawn in 1513. Antarctica wasn't discovered until 1820, 300 years later. And that isn't even the strange part. The strange part isn't that the map shows Antarctica. The strange part is that it shows Antarctica without ice. It shows rivers. It shows mountain ranges. It shows a habitable coast. This is a document that breaks the timeline of human history. Because if this map is real, then someone was mapping the world thousands of years before the first civilizations of Mesopotamia were even born. Welcome to Protocol 9. To understand the map, we have to understand the man who drew it. Skeptics like to dismiss anomalous artifacts as hoaxes or lucky guesses. But Piri Reis was not a mystic. He was not a conspiracy theorist. He was a high-ranking admiral in the Ottoman Navy. His life depended on accuracy. A bad map meant crashing a galleon into a reef. In the margins of the map, Reis actually explains exactly how he made it. He was transparent. He wrote that this map was a compilation, a master map stitched together from 20 older source maps. He cites his sources. He says he used 8 maps from the Greek geographer Ptolemy. He used 1 map from a Genovese infidel, who we know as Christopher Columbus. And he used 4 maps from the Portuguese. But then he mentions the most important source. He refers to maps drawn in the days of Alexander the Great. He calls them the maps of the ancient sea kings. Piri Reis didn't survey Antarctica himself. He never sailed there. He was copying. He was preserving data from older, crumbling documents that were housed in the Imperial Library in Constantinople. And this is the key. The Piri Reis Map is not a 16th century creation. It is a time capsule. It contains geographical data that was already ancient when Rome was built. Data that was passed down, copied and recopied, surviving the burning of the Library of Alexandria, surviving the Dark Ages until it landed on the desk of an Ottoman admiral. And that data tells a story that geology says is impossible. For decades, the map was just a curiosity, a mistake. Mainstream historians said the landmass at the bottom was just South America, bent sideways because the admiral ran out of paper. That was the official explanation. He ran out of paper. But in 1953, a captain in the U.S. Navy named Arlington H. Mallory took a look at the map. Mallory was an expert in ancient cartography. He didn't look at the artistic shapes, he looked at the mathematics. He realized the map wasn't drawn using a standard grid. It was using an ancient projection method based on spherical trigonometry, calculating the curvature of the Earth from a central point. When Mallory corrected the projection, the distorted coastlines snapped into place. It wasn't a mistake. It was a near-perfect match for Queen Maud Land, a specific region of the Antarctic coast. This caught the attention of Charles Hapgood, a professor of history at Keene State College. Hapgood wasn't a fringe YouTuber. He was a serious academic who corresponded with Albert Einstein. Hapgood spent years analyzing the Piri Reis Map with his students. He compared the coastline on the 1513 parchment to the modern seismic surveys of Antarctica. In the 1950s, we were just beginning to map the bedrock of Antarctica using seismic sounding. We were blasting sound waves through mile-thick ice to see the rock underneath. What Hapgood found sent a shiver through the scientific community. The Piri Reis Map didn't just match the coastline of Antarctica today, it matched the coastline of the bedrock underneath the ice. In 1960, Hapgood submitted his findings to the United States Air Force. He wanted a professional opinion. Was he seeing things? Was this just pareidolia? Seeing faces in the clouds? On July 6, 1960, he received a reply. This document is a matter of public record. It was signed by Lieutenant Colonel Harold Z. Ohlmeyer. The letter read, "The geographical detail shown in the lower part of the map agrees very remarkably with the results of the seismic profile made across the top of the ice cap by the Swedish-British Antarctic expedition of 1949. This indicates the coastline had been mapped before it was covered by the ice cap." And then, the colonel added the kicker. "We have no idea how the data on this map can be reconciled with the supposed state of geographical knowledge in 1949. 1513. Let that sink in. The U.S. Air Force admitted that an Ottoman map from 1513 showed a coastline that we only discovered with advanced seismic technology in 1949. But here's the problem. Geologists tell us that Queen Maud Land has been covered in ice for millions of years. History tells us the first human civilizations appeared around 4000 BC. If the map is accurate, and the geology is accurate, then who mapped this coast? It isn't just the geography, it's the math. To draw a map like this, you need to know longitude. Latitude is easy. You look at the stars. But longitude requires accurate timekeeping. You need a chronometer. In 1513, nobody had a chronometer. We didn't invent one accurate enough to calculate longitude until the late 1700s. That is why most medieval maps are warped and distorted. Yet the Piri Reis Map places South America and Africa in the correct relative longitude. The mathematical precision required to do this implies a knowledge of spherical geometry that Europe did not possess in the 16th century. Piri Reis didn't calculate this. He said so himself. He was copying. So, who did the math? Charles Hapgood proposed a theory that destroyed his career. He suggested that there was a civilization, a maritime culture, that existed during the last ice age. A civilization that had mapped the entire globe before the ice caps expanded. A civilization that was lost, leaving behind only fragments of their knowledge. Fragments that were copied by the Greeks, stored in Alexandria, and eventually found their way to an Ottoman admiral. We call them myths: Atlantis, Lemuria, the Golden Age. We dismiss them as stories told by primitive people. But the Piri Reis Map is not a story. It is a piece of paper. It is physical evidence. It sits in a library in Istanbul today. You can go see it. The map forces us to make a choice. Either the Piri Reis Map is the greatest coincidence in the history of probability, a lucky drawing that accidentally matches subglacial data, or the history of humanity is much older and much more complicated than we are allowed to believe. Maybe we aren't the first advanced civilization to walk this earth. Maybe we are just the first ones to forget. The maps have been drawn, the evidence is on the table, but the textbooks remain blank. We are here to fill the pages they left empty. If you want to see what else has been forgotten, initiate the protocol. Click subscribe. Welcome to the truth. The